Texas families continue to grapple with the cost of going to college, and discussing those issues begins here at the Texas Capitol, where a decision made 14 years ago drastically changed higher education in this state. And this year, lawmakers look to take back power they gave away. I'm KXAN's political reporter Phil Prazen, and this is Cost and Control.
The larger government grows, the smaller the circle of freedom.
2003 was a year for the Republican Party.
It is precisely the wrong time to raise taxes.
For the first time since the 1800s, they controlled every branch of state government.
Ring the bell.
Taking office by promising reform and no new taxes.
That's the government that Texans have voted for.
But in the final days of the legislative session,
Delivering grim news.
they were short billions.
Inefficiencies and duplications.
A handful of people were charged to find a solution.
A very difficult and hard decision for all of us.
They came to an idea left for dead earlier that year and pushed it through as part of last-minute negotiations.
And that we're going to get blamed either way.
It would change every Texas public university and impact every student looking for a higher education in the state.
Any rate, any student, any time.
A decade later, Taylor Grant graduated with a corporate communications degree from UT Austin.
It's known, it's so recognized all over the world. I really thought that that degree would be well respected.
She works 5 days a week as a medical spa manager at TOC Eye and Face. She says she's paid well, but at home, she searches for clients for her second job. There, she's a professional organizer and works through the weekend, paying off that decision made her senior year of high school.
Current balance is $40,423.39.
Preoccupied with a divorce, her parents left planning and paying for college up to her. She took out loans, backed by the federal government, to cover 4 years of school, $65,000 to be paid off in 10 years. The spring after graduation, she married her college sweetheart. The same time, she had to begin to pay the loans back.
Now that I have a job and a mortgage and a car payment, I'm realizing how much money those student loans are. Like, it's a huge part of our monthly bills. Huge.
She's one of a generation in crisis. Teenagers stepping into adulthood when university costs went up, government funding went down, and financial institutions gave out loans that do not disappear in bankruptcy. At nearly $1.5 trillion, student loans are the most common form of debt after mortgages. 7 million recent graduates are in default nationwide.
It's sort of the difference between freedom and slavery, because you can't get out of a student loan.
Thomas Lindsay from the Texas Public Policy Foundation says it goes beyond each individual struggle.
As kids graduate and they can't buy houses, they put off getting married, they put off having kids, etc. So it not only hurts them, and that's bad enough, it also has bad effects on the economy as a whole.
Tuition hikes have gone up some 147%.
Recent surveys show the cost. 1 in 5 Americans put off starting a business. 1 in 4 postpone moving out of their parents' home. 1 in 3 postpone buying a house or apartment, and almost half put off purchasing a car. Taylor Grant is putting off starting a family.
Finances are a huge reason why I'm put off by it.
The state has many of the best universities in the country, but to go to them, students took out more than $80 billion. And that goes up every year.
We've produced a lot of unintended negative consequences.
Alex Ramirez graduated high school in 2009.
You were having a job or you were working on the farm. Like, it was something you just did.
In the morning, he went to school. At night, he worked at a local truck wash.
It was just, hot, muggy. I'm tired all the time, you know? You're working long days, 3 to 11, sometimes 2 to 11, coming early, staying late sometimes. It's got tiring. You're on your feet all day.
After graduation, his friends enlisted in the military or found what jobs they could with a high school education. He saw 2 options, a low-paying job or pursuing a 4-year degree. But he didn't save up enough money to go to college.
It's scary. I mean, you're working, you get all this money, and you're investing in yourself. I mean, if you mess up, let's say you take a class and you don't pass it, that's money you just wasted. Especially if you have work on top of that. I mean, you're always busy. I mean, you got to pay for that. You got to pay for that class somehow.
And pricing the middle class out of college was exactly what many feared of doing more than a decade ago. 2002 was a historic election.
It was a time to celebrate new beginnings in Texas politics.
Texas families don't want, don't need, and don't deserve new taxes.
Governor Rick Perry was easily elected.
Every line item in the budget must be analyzed and justified.
The land commissioner, David Dewhurst, became leader of the Texas Senate as lieutenant governor.
A pro-family, pro-growth agenda for the state of Texas.
And for the first time in 130 years, the House would have a Republican speaker.
A reputation as fiercely partisan.
Lawmaker for 34 years,
Tom Craddock of Midland County to be duly elected Speaker.
Tom Craddock would control the lower
It's
house.
to solve the many issues and challenges facing the state.
But they all arrived in Austin when the state economy came down.
I am delivering grim news.
Texas can only spend what it collects in taxes.
Comptroller's office is
And lawmakers would start $10 billion in the hole.
This is more than symbolic. This is real.
The 11th commandment was, thou shalt not spend any money.
Obviously, it's worse than we thought it was going to be, but I still feel like we can manage the budget.
Tom Craddock and university leaders had a solution.
As a contentious issue gets brought back up.
The state could fund colleges less if lawmakers allowed University Board of Regents to raise money on their own through tuition.
The flexibility necessary.
At that time, the legislature set tuition rates. Funding for universities came from the state and student tuition. But tuition deregulation would allow universities to set their own rates. The state could pay less, and schools would have the flexibility to raise more money from tuition. Handing that state power over became a priority for Craddock, and he looked to his budget chairman, veteran lawmaker Talmadge Heflin, to make the numbers work.
It was a money issue on that. We did this in lieu of giving higher ed money.
Some fear deregulation will outprice low to
In committee, students were outraged. Elected officials would hand power over to regents appointed by the governor.
I ask you, why is there not a single student here supporting it?
The Senate feared regents would run wild with tuition.
We don't want to run before we walk. We want to make sure that we're not pricing our kids out of college.
But lawmakers would leave town June 1st, and many feared they would not make the numbers work in time.
They told their staff to be ready for long hours. And
they would deregulate tuition or make massive cuts to higher ed. But Craddock and his team were committed.
I suppose it could be a budget buster because it is. We gave our word and we're sticking by our word.
Heflin looked to Governor Rick Perry.
The two of us were sitting there, and I said, I need to know that you will not sign a tax bill. He pulled his chair over and he says, if you come back and tell me you can't make the budget work without one, the answer is still no. I said, that's all I need to know.
Lawmakers must pass every session is a balanced budget.
To win over the rest of the House, they guaranteed 20% of tuition increases would go to financial aid for poor and middle-class Texans.
Not make the choice to tax those that don't have a lobbyist.
Senate Democrats still felt strong-armed.
But it is a bad, bad precedent.
They felt the governor and Tom Craddock would let the entire state budget fail if tuition deregulation didn't pass.
I don't like to be put in a corner, members. I don't like to be bargained with, and I don't like to say, you have to pass this or the whole budget goes down. And that's basically what my choices are today.
Barrientos.
The votes were there.
There being 17 ayes and 14 nays.
Governor Perry signed the law allowing universities to raise money on their own. Right after he signed the budget.
We did what we set out to do. We kept the trust by keeping our promises.
Newspapers around the state were critical. Many hoped universities would not abuse the power they just received. In the oldest building on UT Austin's campus, Dino Padron works 14 hours a week. He finds and returns books in the architecture and planning library. The money he earns pays for a degree in architecture, and he needs it. He's the first in his family to go to college.
I have to deal with it by myself. Nobody in my family's done it before, so I just have to find out the steps.
A degree was out of reach without state grants, and working 3 days a week at the library through UT's work-study program. He fills in the gaps with loans.
You try to plan, but you can't always do so, especially when it comes to money. It's like you never know what's gonna happen. I think from what my mom and my dad, what their lives are, I think in their eyes, it's like college is the big stepping stone that will lead to I guess, real success. It's like the American dream type of thing.
But now that state financial aid is in limbo.
Well, thank you very much.
More than a decade after tuition was deregulated, another wave of leaders came to power. In early 2015, Admiral William McRaven, the man who led the mission, killing Osama bin Laden, became the new chancellor at the University of Texas system. His goal would be to become world leaders in education, research, and healthcare.
And what started here will indeed have changed the world for the better.
The voting is finished, so what will Texas look like with Greg Abbott as governor?
Weeks before, Republican lawmakers again easily won statewide offices. The Attorney General would become Governor Greg Abbott.
Texas understands that government is supposed to be the servant of the people, not the other way around.
Several key members of the Texas Senate were replaced by more strict conservatives.
It's a new day in Texas.
And Houston State Senator Dan Patrick defeated sitting Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst in a runoff and then easily won in November.
Decisions we make today, we must be careful and wise because they will impact the future of many to come behind us.
And as 2015 started, many called it the most conservative lawmaking body in recent history. They phased out a scholarship program for middle-class students, but bills to slow the rise in tuition never passed. After years of spending less on higher education, lawmakers gave them a bump.
People at the universities thought 2015 was a pretty good session for them, in terms of funding at least.
Sales tax revenues have been higher than anticipated.
The economy was performing well. Lawmakers gave universities $1 billion more, and even more money to catch up on construction.
That being said, I think they definitely would have liked more. We saw major cuts during the last recession.
In February of 2016, UT approved one-year bonuses for top faculty, based on a Rick Perry-era plan to tie compensation to performance. The system's CEO of University Oil Lands in West Texas received $425,000 more. The system's executive vice chancellor for health affairs received $200,000 more. The president of UT Health Science Center at San Antonio jumped $190,000 from the year before. And then, the board announced a raise in tuition for many campuses, including a 6% raise for the flagship university. The new lieutenant governor thought this was an abuse of power.
The arrogance of it. So you get more money from the legislature than you've gotten in a long, long time, and then you raise tuition, and then you give, at the University of Texas, huge pay increases. I mean, you know what? When you go into public education, like a school teacher, you don't go in there to get rich.
The rate of increase for us was...
He spurred on the Senate Higher Education Committee to call university chancellors to the Capitol.
This was not a bonus. This was incentive compensation. Yes, President, you met your goals, and therefore we had an agreement with you that if you met those goals, we would provide you a certain amount of incentive compensation. That's what it was. And if you don't meet those goals, then we don't.
Chancellor McRaven expressed this was the price to pay to be worldwide leaders in education.
My point is...
Upstairs, Lieutenant Governor Patrick brought out graphs showing tuition increased nearly 150% since 2003.
People did not send us here to Austin to allow our universities to raise tuitions 5 times higher than their salaries. In the 90s, the legislature was in charge and they raised tuition. Well, you know what? 85 to 90% of the people in the legislature now weren't here in the 90s. So it's also our responsibility. But this has to end.
He would move to take back control of tuition for state institutions. Along the way, they'd scrap the financial aid put in place in 2003 to get Democrats to go along with tuition deregulation.
This is nothing more than a hidden tax.
The year before, those scholarships amounted to $300 million. Doing away with them would be a dramatic change.
The middle class would take a huge hit.
Senator Kirk Watson represents the flagship for the University of Texas and the largest college town in the state. Ending these tuition set-asides, he says, would be going back on a commitment to ensure rising tuition doesn't price out low-income Texans.
And it's worked. Now we come back, a decade and a half later and act as though the very promises we made we're not going to live up to.
And some of this aid went to students like Dino Padron. Many now worry if state lawmakers take back power over tuition, politics would get in the way of stable funding. Opinions change daily over quality, cost, what a higher education is worth, and who should pay for it.
It was stressful. I mean, thinking about it, day in, day out, I'm like, man, am I gonna make enough? Am I gonna have enough to, get a house one day? So it was stressful thinking about all these real world problems coming into my life.
For 3 years after graduating high school, Alex Ramirez jumped from one low-paying job to another.
Busting my back every day. I was like, man, this is tiring.
But then he discovered a 2-year school in Waco, the Texas State Technical College. And today, Alex studies electrical power controls.
I liked it. It was hands-on. I understood it. It kind of clicked.
When finished, he wants to work at a nuclear power plant. Someone with his degree can make around $62,000 a year.
They want you to understand what you're doing. So when you leave this place, you have a really good foundation of how things work.
The school is built for a specific purpose: associate degrees and certificates in science, engineering, and math. Most universities are funded by how many students are in the classroom. But for the past 4 years, the state pays TSTC based on the jobs students get once they graduate.
There are far too many students today that are leaving college with large debt, having paid a high price, and then realizing that their career field will cause them challenges in terms of paying those loans back.
The Texas Workforce Commission tracks their positions and salaries after graduation. That is factored into the state budget request for the Higher Education Coordinating Board. It's known as outcomes-based funding, paying for performance, not enrollment.
Knowing that your state support is based on results gets us laser focused on student success.
It's now a major component of a statewide plan.
Because of the cost of higher education, people are asking more and more what they're getting for their investment. Plenty of responsibility to go around, and blame.
Commissioner of the Higher Education Coordinating Board, Raymond Paredes, says the last statewide plan, Closing the Gaps, helped Texas catch up to other states by getting a record number of Texans into college. But the new plan, 60 by 30 Texas, hopes to get 60% of people with a higher education degree or certificate by 2030. He asked lawmakers for $150 million more this budget so the board can reward universities for graduating students on time.
We're going to have to significantly reinvent higher education to meet our goals. The fundamental message upon reading the 60 by 30 plan is we're not going to get there from here. We're going to have to do things very differently.
We maintain a supermajority.
But when lawmakers came to town in 2017, they learned again low oil prices and prior tax cuts would lead to a shortfall. This time, it was around $5 billion. Universities face anywhere from a 6 to 10% cut in funding, and bills giving the state government more say in setting tuition rates are moving through the Texas Senate, led by Lieutenant Governor Patrick.
For what purpose?
and Senate Higher Education Chairman Kel Seliger.
Right now, the temperament of this legislature is to control as many things as possible, and university tuition is one of them.
Using the idea of outcomes-based funding, his bill would measure the number and speed of graduation rates with administrative cost. If a university hits 6 out of 11 metrics, regents could raise tuition.
And if they're going to increase tuition, something else has got to increase with it. Quality or success on the mission assumed and things like that. Let's don't just keep raising the price for the same product.
Vice Chancellor of the University of Texas, Barry McBee, says they're already cutting their administrative costs by 10% and are on board with performance-based tuition.
Receiving the dollars, however we receive them, is going to be more important than necessarily what we have to do to get them.
But Senator Seliger also filed an outright tuition freeze. 40 years ago, the state funded half of the UT system. Now it supports around 13%. McBee says if that trend continues, the bill would freeze the cost, but also the quality of education.
A one-size-all-fits measure may not work across the board. We're not competing just within Texas. We are competing nationally and internationally for faculty and researchers and for students. And we need to provide the highest quality environment and education we can for the good of the state. It's not just for our own benefit, it's for the benefit of Texas.
The stakes in the coming days are high. More than 600,000 students in public universities could feel the impact. Years ago, lawmakers gave away much of their power. New leaders will now decide whether to take it back.